Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in, either live or after the fact. Mav here, and this is Fun Speculation. Yeah, we're going to be having some chill time chatting. I want to talk about some of the stuff that's been going on the last couple days, but also I kind of want to roll into the stuff we have looking forward to this week for gaming news. Obviously, whatever ends up happening, we'll be covering on our multitude of podcasts here on Fun Speculation Network with FSP on Monday, PM and the PM on Thursday, and then Xbox Ultimate Podcast on Friday. But, you know, this has become a regular thing here on Sunday nights to do a kind of chill, kind of Q&A, kind of hang out with the chat, just me, and rock out with you guys. So I appreciate if you do tune into any of our content, and I appreciate if you watch this live now or if you're watching later. You all help keep the channel growing, and it means a lot to me. So thank you for being here and checking out the content. If you do like what we have going, just hit the like button, share it out, sub to the channel, a notification bell, all that cool stuff. And maybe if you guys keep liking these Sunday night streams, we'll keep it going for a while. Shout out to the people I'd see in the chat already. Sub Artie M, how's it going? AJH, Triz, you know what it is, and Donald J Trump 69. I hope you are having a fantastic Sunday night, and I hope you all had a great weekend. It's been a kind of a chill weekend for us. Got to sleep in a little bit today, and ran some errands yesterday and today. Played some games. I've been still playing a lot of the MLB The Show. It's got its hooks in me. But I also dabbled in lots of games because Hi-Fi Rush has been such a thing. It's been on my mind. So I actually spent a little bit of time kind of diving back into that. Checked out a little bit of Jedi Fallen Order today again to see if I want to finish it. Again, that game's so amazing in the performance mode with the controls. It's so slick. But it's still a Soulsy type experience. And I don't know if I love. I actually like Wolong more for that style. I don't know, but I still am in awe really when I play it, at least technical wise, and how fluid it is with what Respawn did. But yeah, there's a lot going to happen this week. ABK news is going to be abundant, and also some of the most important news of ABK may happen this week. So we're going to dive into that, but also the main thing here is if you clicked on this, maybe you see the thumbnail. This controversy that's been going on that was kind of started from some comments that Jeff Grubb made on his show the other day on Thursday regarding Hi-Fi Rush and it maybe not making what it needed to make. And he's since released a video today. Kind of, I don't know if it was as much like an apology. He did say he feels bad for everything that's happened. But then some kind of like doubling down on some conjecture and speculation and hypotheticals as well that I feel like is a little bit strange for me. Like I don't know what kind of information they got from whatever source or whatever insider that said like it didn't meet its necessity or whatever or amount of money that they were hoping for, or that it had this amount of budget and they made this money is kind of what way he put it at. And the strange thing for me is regarding Game Pass and the direction of Xbox is it's really not even a conversation that needs to be had. And I don't really know why it's a conversation now. And I feel like it was maybe just putting out information for the sake of it. He did go on to say there a lot about like maybe Halo and the amount of money they were expecting it to come in maybe isn't offsetting some of the other things they had budgeted or whatever. I don't really know. Like, it's a weird conversation to have. I feel like there's still a misconception about Game Pass and what Game Pass is and how Xbox can survive and make money and thrive with a subscription service like Game Pass. And I feel like, honestly, that conversation is still at the heart and the root of this Hi-Fi Rush discussion, because I honestly don't think Hi-Fi Rush had that crazy of expectations of sales. And even if it didn't necessarily meet exactly what they wanted sales-wise, it was still a very positive moment for Xbox, leading more positivity to the brand, which is they need a lot of those W's. Aaron Greenberg obviously had his comments saying that it met all of the metrics that they care about or whatever, and there's no concerns. They're extremely happy with it. So I personally like seeing Aaron Greenberg post that and come out with that top and that conversation, trying to shut this other conversation down. He doesn't usually do that too much. You know, like if there's negativity out there, I mean, they kind of stay quiet or whatever, but this was something he was like, hey, this is bullshit. Like, we got to shut this conversation down because we're extremely happy with Hi-Fi Rush. And could it possibly be that, you know, Bethesda themselves are getting used to this whole Game Pass situation because they're not used to their games being in Game Pass and knowing what to expect sales-wise and stuff like that? Something we talked a lot about on this channel when people were like, can Game Pass be sustainable? Is Game Pass profitable? All those kind of things. It's all kind of the same conversation, isn't it? Right? Isn't it like all the same conversation here? Because very well thought of game, brought a lot of hype. It sold fairly well on Steam, especially for a shadow drop. They didn't have a huge marketing budget or anything like that. I mean, they literally shadow dropped it. So there's a lot of conjecture about this, about what does Microsoft need to make in order to have a game be successful, right? Well, for me, it's always been, if Xbox is profitable and growing and the subscriber count is growing, the subscriber count is getting larger, then that's what the metric is. It's engagement. Phil Spencer answered these questions directly before several times about what drives the success for the Xbox brand now. How do they deem whether Game Pass is successful or profitable? They've even come out and said it is profitable, but it's also sustainable, all this stuff. So this is all the same conversation, right? Like it's not a shock. It shouldn't be a shock that a game that's in Game Pass isn't going to sell as well as a game that's not in Game Pass, right? Especially a day one launch. Like, obviously, if you have around 30 million subscribers and several of those are on console or whatever, the game launches day one in that service, a lot of people are just going to play it in the service. So that's just common sense, right? So why is there concern, or is it fake concern, really, about Microsoft's model here when it hasn't even hit its stride? It's already been successful. Game Pass has. It's already changing the industry. There's already a crap ton of games going into it that we're really going to see the fruits of its labor and everything that Microsoft's been working on in the years ahead. But for Hi-Fi Rush to be cause for concern, out of all these games coming out, out of everything happening, out of all the investment with Xbox, out of all this stuff happening, for this to be this level of outrage or concern or doomsday or sky is falling scenario over Hi-Fi Rush, it doesn't add up. Okay, it says, hey, not sure why, but this didn't share to Twitter. Just a heads up. Yeah, I'll tell you why I didn't share to Twitter, because with Restream, what I'm doing now, because I do dual stream this, but I decided, hey, I'm going to push it to Twitch for the hell of it, just to see if there's any people out there on Twitch that end up wanting to watch this stuff. So I have a dual streaming right now to YouTube and Twitch instead of YouTube and Twitter. I don't know if anybody ever even watches streams on Twitter, to be honest with you. Maybe they do. I don't know. I've had some people say in the past that they do, but we'll see. I don't know. Like, why not have it push to Twitch? If people are interested on Twitch to check out the content, I used to have this stuff pushed to Twitch, and it never really grew over there. It's mainly a YouTube audience here for us. But you know what? It's been a while, so I might as well put some content on Twitch. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching again. Kate says no, but I think the live preview event might help direct people. Yeah, maybe so. You're probably right. I don't know. I didn't do it. I'm sorry. I'm failing. Elon does. Trump says in the chat. Elon watches streams. Yeah. What's up, Amit Kumar? How you doing? What's up, Void Rat? What's up, Carissa? How's it going? Everybody, King J79, how are you doing? RWK88, what up, what up? Don Sicario, how are you? Thank you all for watching the stream. Kate says she's always right. Yeah, you are always right. Kate's working on some really cool stuff behind the scenes for the channel right now. So I'm thinking we might be able to premiere some stuff tomorrow for the channel. A little bit of change of visual type stuff. You might see you on some of the podcasts. I'm not going to say more than that. But yeah, thanks for everything you're doing, and probably still working on it as we speak right now, babe. What's up, Dave? How are you doing? I saw you had a show today. Hopefully that went well for you, bro. And Froggy, hey, how are you doing? Froggy, you're right. I am lucky to have her for multiple reasons. Absolutely. Lucius says, what's up, Lucius? How's it going? He says, isn't it weird how so many people on the media jump on the Hi-Fi Rush hate? It is a little strange. I don't really understand a lot of it, to be honest with you. Again, like we're saying, it's not like the hopes and dreams of Game Pass's failure and Xbox's success, or Game Pass's success and all this kind of stuff is resting on the hopes and dreams of Hi-Fi Rush. If you know what I mean. Like, Hi-Fi Rush is a really cool win for Xbox, in my opinion, so far this year. Surprise drop in January, and it did a lot of cool things, and I think it did everything it needed to do. And I mean, the budget on that game couldn't have been astronomical. Marketing budget wasn't even astronomical. Did it sell as much as they thought it might? I don't know, but did it bring hype to the brand and probably cause some people to sign up to Game Pass and all that kind of stuff? I would say probably so. And that's only going to get even more and more as these other games start dropping. We have Minecraft Legends just hit. You have Redfall coming out in about, roughly 10 days or so. You have Starfield later this year. You have Age of Empires 4 later this year. You have potentially Forza Motorsport still this year. You have this June showcase happening on June 11th. Starfield Direct happening. The ABK deal is probably about to close. You got potential announcement of the CMA approval this week as well. So there's lots of stuff happening, exciting for Xbox, and all of that stuff will drive traffic and drive subscriptions to Game Pass. Way more than Hi-Fi Rush, right? But even so, like, Hi-Fi Rush, I feel like was a good thing, and I think Xbox sees that as well. That's why Aaron Greenberg tweeted what he did. Void Rat says it's 3:43 a.m. You should really be sleeping. I appreciate you being here. Minister Madden, what's up? Says Aaron Greenberg from Microsoft said that Hi-Fi Rush was successful. Enough said. Exactly. For me, that's enough. RSJ fan, how's it going? Hope you're doing all right. Let's see. I saw another comment. Amit Kumar says, it's just a weird conversation to have. The game was good. It had 2 million players. Xbox was happy with it. But we're out here saying it failed. This is the state of gaming media these days. I want to know, I'm kind of curious where this information came from, right? Like, is it somebody within Bethesda that's confused on the model of Xbox? Or is it like some other analyst that has financial data about things that was like, hey, guess what? They spent this much money on it and it only sold this much. I mean, I don't really know, right? But like, the thing with Game Pass is it's a different metric that really can't be measured one-to-one. Like, you can't look at Game Pass and say, well, we have this game and Game Pass is driving this amount of subscribers for the one game, and that's how much money it makes. It doesn't work like that with Game Pass. It's more of an overall encompassing thing, like a build-up type situation, built on the amount of subscribers that keeps going in and sustaining and growing over time. The amount of people that play it, the amount of money that's spent on other games because people aren't buying Game Pass games, the amount of microtransactions that get spent on games that are in Game Pass, the amount of add-on content that gets purchased from these games. It's all these different factors weigh in, and the only thing you can really look at when it's such a huge focus and focal point of Microsoft and Xbox's future is Xbox profitable? Is it growing? And everything we've seen so far, even with the lack of hardware sales, is that the answer to that is yes. Monthly active users are still high and more than PlayStation. You have people in the ecosystem playing on PC, playing on mobile, playing via the cloud. You have people playing on consoles, and this is a very dynamic, growing ecosystem that's going to keep changing and evolving over time as these games keep hitting Game Pass and keep coming out. And the thing is, like, a lot of these games are still gonna sell, obviously, right? But for me, I'll tell you, and I don't know the chat that how many of you feel this way, but I'm not buying Forza Motorsport. I'm not buying Starfield. I'm not buying Fable. I'm not buying Perfect Dark. I'm not buying any of these games. I'm subscribing to Game Pass. That's what Microsoft has this model for. So how is there data that somebody like Jeff Grubb has access to or has heard directly saying it's not doing what they needed to because the metrics have changed? That's the key thing. What is the financials going to look like after 2023 is over, going into 2024 when it matters the most, after they finally hit their stride with all these games? There's no metric to look at and say that Hi-Fi Rush was a failure. It's a different day and age, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things that is different about Game Pass and Xbox and Microsoft's model. That's going to take a while for some of these people to adjust to, and I feel like that's the biggest thing here, and that's the biggest conversation. It's not about Hi-Fi Rush spent this much money, Hi-Fi Rush sold this many copies, right? Game Pass alters that. Just inherently, it does. So there's no real answer to that question. The only thing you can say is Xbox still investing in Game Pass? And is it growing, gaining subscribers? And is Xbox as an entire ecosystem still making money? And if that's the case, then the answer is yes. Well, are they down after 2022 where they didn't have a lot of first party to help grow that engagement? I would say yeah. If the financials come out for the last quarter when PlayStation was killing it, they didn't have any first party stuff. Would that surprise me? No, but it's not, anything's not just about one quarter year to date. It's about sustained growth over time, right? Like it's just a very dynamic industry, very new model that a lot of the industry and the analysts and the gaming media are not adjusted to yet. And you can tell that by the conversation that's out there. Hi-Fi Rush is such a weird conversation to have with this because out of all the games that they have coming this year anyway, that's the one that you would look at and probably say they had the least expectations for. Shadow dropping a game, testing it out like that, doing that. I mean, what expectations were there? Like, there's what can you point to and say that, hey, this is what they were wanting and didn't meet that? I don't feel like there is. And there's a conversation to be had about Xbox and Game Pass and will it work in the long term? And the only answer to that question will be what happens in the next few years. And mind you, that all of this is not even taking into account this Activision Blizzard acquisition that's happening and that's going to be closing soon. So it's all very interesting, the conversation that's being had right now. And it created the sky is falling, Xbox model doesn't work, Game Pass is not gonna work for games, all this kind of scenario, and it's just a weird conversation, man. I don't really understand how anybody can point to this one game and try and make it a big ass assumption like that. And maybe they're just asking questions, right? But when you come out and say it didn't meet or didn't hit things that it needed, and which I'll give Grubb credit for retracting that aspect of it, saying he may have made a mistake when he spoke. It puts out a lot of weird energy, and I do feel like there's some level of responsibility that goes into these bigger media outlets that sometimes, and a lot of weight is put on them, right? And it's like, oh, he said this, or this person said that, or this person said this. Oh my gosh, It doesn't matter what they say. All that matters is what happens the next few years. And we're going to find that out. And nobody knows the answer to that question. Let me get to some of the chat here. So again, thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate you all being here. Yeah, Portal says, yeah, they're releasing financial report on Tuesday. It will be a telling sign for the health of Xbox. I don't even think that'll be a telling sign for the health of Xbox, because was 2022 a big disappointment for Xbox? I would say absolutely. So does that tell anything about what's going on this year and in the future? Not really. So it's not really telling about anything. More telling about the health of Xbox is the fact that they've still been willing to spend $70 billion on this ABK acquisition, and they want it desperately. Besides that, also all these other games. And we spent Friday night show on Xbox Ultimate, trying to kind of have a reality check and put things in perspective about all the projects that Xbox has in the works. And with everything they have going, if you don't have confidence and think that Microsoft has confidence in what they got going on, that's a big misconception. Shout out to Corey C. Says, the thing that gets me is Jeff should know better. Go watch this video today. He doubles down. I saw that, and I was, that video kind of honestly didn't do what I think he wanted it to, because in a way he's half apologizing. In a way he's half saying, well, I maybe misspoke. But then he continues halfway through the video to go back and double down on almost everything that he said and add even more conjecture and all of these things to it, which showed to me that maybe many of the media, that maybe he doesn't really have understanding like a lot of media does about what Microsoft is trying to do, and how Game Pass works. It's not rocket science for me. It's all based on engagement and user base and growing it over time. So and that's a question we don't have yet. It's an answer we don't have yet, because they haven't been putting out the games at a proper enough cadence to be able to make any kind of judgment on that yet. That's been the most frustrating thing with Xbox. It's not Hi-Fi Rush and what does it mean for the Xbox model. It's the amount of time it's taken for these games to get created and to get made. And that's out of everything, that's the number one thing that has impacted the growth of Game Pass. The thing is, those games are still coming. Portal says, do I expect Microsoft to release Game Pass numbers on Tuesday? No, I don't. I don't expect them to. I think we'll get an announcement of Game Pass numbers when there's another milestone, or where there's some kind of information maybe that gets leaked because of a court document or some kind of thing like that. I don't think they're going to announce the Game Pass numbers because they probably share those internally to publishers when they're doing Game Pass deals and stuff like that. But it's not something they put out in the public until they hit certain milestones. And that's just what they said they're going to do. And that's just par for the course of what they're doing. The last numbers we had heard was 28 million, which was up from the numbers before that, which was 25 when they made the public announcement. The 28 came from court documents, information that came out, or maybe it was during the hearing or one of the hearings or something. I can't remember exactly, but 28 came out from then. That was sometime last year. It should be more than that now, unless they've been bleeding subscribers. And I don't think that's the case. I still think they're growing. Yeah, they did say 28 million Portal, but they didn't make a public announcement. That was actually leaked information from that became public. Corey C says, nobody's doing as much as Xbox and gaming. There has to be a disconnect. Grubb is usually a pretty good guy and knows what he's talking about. It shocked you. Yeah, it's not every. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I respect Jeff Grubb. I think he has amazing things. I like when he leaks information out there in the gaming space and stuff like that. But doesn't necessarily mean that we always agree with his takes. He had takes about Hogwarts Legacy that I very much disagreed with as well. There's other things that he says that I don't agree with from time to time, and that's completely okay. I still respect him and the work that he does. However, in this point, I think that he's kind of missing the key points on the discussion about Game Pass and where it's going. And it's not this Hi-Fi Rush is an interesting thing, and maybe he's not even trying to make as big deal about that as it came across, right? But with Hi-Fi Rush, it was a success for Xbox this year. Critically, reception-wise, player base-wise, and all these different metrics that Aaron Greenberg kind of maybe alluded to on Twitter. But to put out there that it didn't do what it needed was the issue that raised some concern from a lot of people. And that's also a big thing that I kind of question. And because how does he know what Xbox needs? Right? And that's kind of what he retracted on his video he made today. He doesn't know what Xbox needs. He doesn't know how they view their success. And that's the key discussion here. How does Xbox view, what metrics do they look at for success? With the subscription like Game Pass, again, you look at other streaming services and how they grow and what do they go by, and the pure thing is engagement and growth of subscriptions over time. And you can't just point to one thing and say this is going to grow the subscriptions this exponentially. It's an accumulated thing over confidence in the brand and confidence in the value of the subscription. That's just the inherent fact about the way the subscription services work. Like with all of these TV subscriptions that we have, all of these movie subscriptions we have, if there's one thing to watch, you subscribe, you watch it, you unsubscribe. A lot of people do that. If there's a crap ton of content coming out regularly that keeps you engaged and is awesome, those subscription numbers are going to keep growing because you're going to have more and more people keep staying in, and then more and more people coming to the service. And that's the metric that way Game Pass is going to work. The cool thing about Microsoft and Xbox's model is they also sell the games. So there's a two-folded punch to this that takes into account for the success. And does Game Pass affect game sales? 100%. Especially, again, on day one games. That's just going to be a fact that's going to permeate for games that are always on Game Pass at launch day one, especially first-party games. But there's these developers, third-party publishers, and things like this still decide to put their games there. So there's no surprises across the board when it comes to Game Pass or even Hi-Fi Rush for me. Porter, I see you keep saying the same thing over and over again about about the financials. Again, I'm not expecting the financials to be amazing for Xbox after last year. I don't know if anybody is. Is anybody expecting my Xbox's financials to be stellar after the 2022 that they had? Does that mean anything for what they have going forward? No. The games were delayed out of last year. Like Redfall was delayed out of last year. Starfield was delayed out of last year. Are we expecting Xbox financials to reflect positively over that? No. Will they be better this year because they were delayed into this year? Yes. But we'll have to wait a long time to see those. So, this doom and gloom stuff, sky is falling, is just ridiculous. Like, you can look at common sense stuff and be like, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Like, it doesn't mean a damn thing. What's going to matter is if this ABK deal closes. What's going to matter is how these games are received when they're released. It's gonna matter how Starfield does with engagement and Game Pass, and if it grows subscription numbers. It's going to matter if it sells as well to an extent. All these metrics are going to be what matters this year. That's why I was so critical over Redfall and the 30 frames thing. From a business perspective from Microsoft, I think it doesn't make sense to launch it like that because I think it does a disservice to the game and the brand. But that's just one game. Again, at the end of the day, we've already had this year Hi-Fi Rush, Age 2. We've had games like Wolong hit in Game Pass, MLB The Show. We've had Minecraft Legends. We're about to get Redfall. We're going to get Age 4, Forza Motorsport potentially, and Starfield. And who knows what else. Silksong is still going to be in Game Pass this year if it does release this year. Replaced again. Lies of P. Several different things. Several different things are still happening. And it's already in the first quarter of this year, it's smoked 2022. So does it surprise me if we find out the financials for 2022 were not great for Xbox? No. Does that matter to me? No. That impacts them because the decisions they made last year and the development pipeline that they failed to meet on last year. This year, they're going to benefit from that, much like PlayStation benefited last year from the poor output from the second half of 2021. PlayStation's numbers at the end of 2021 were, hey, they were down in subscriptions. They were down in all this. They're down in all that. Bleeding subs still. Losing PlayStation Plus users. All that stuff at the end of 2021. Lots of doomsday. People still couldn't get their PS5s, all that kind of stuff. Well, guess what? 2022, they had a lot of good stuff because of 2021's shortcomings. And this year, they're killing it again so far as sales because they finally have their consoles in stock. They have great third parties coming out exclusive, and they have Spider-Man 2 still at the end of the year. So this is going to be a good year for PlayStation again this year, I think, especially hardware-wise. And I think the amount of hardware that they're selling is also going to help their user base and their subscriptions go up a little bit as well. But when companies don't have a lot of games and they have not a lot of hardware out there, guess what? It usually doesn't spell very well for financials. And so 2022 is probably going to be a little rough, but that's okay. I'm more concerned about the year that we're in and what we're looking forward to. Shout out to Lemon James. Hey, Lemon, what's up, dude? Just like when one clown said he's leaving Game Pass, the content creators started saying Game Pass losing subs. Microsoft showed Game Pass is up. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, Game Pass is still growing, and that's without a lot in 2022, which is still crazy. So anyway, yeah, it's just interesting, all the nonsense out there regarding Hi-Fi Rush. The main thing is what we should all be concerned with is Hi-Fi Rush a good game? And I think the big answer to that question, the one that most people agree with, is yes. Most people think it's a very good game. So, hey, go play it. The biggest is I think Microsoft is doing a smart strategy by showing the FTC they aren't on top of the gaming sales, so they could just accept the deal already. I know Fable 4 will do crazy numbers. Yeah, there was a lot of conspiracy about that. And I got to give a shout out to a friend of the show, a friend of ours, Everborn Saga, who was one of the first people to put that energy out there about Microsoft holding back on some things and announcements, especially last year, because of the regulators and how much digging into things and how uneducated they were, that they needed to kind of play it easy on some of the announcements and stuff. Then we saw maybe that was one reason why they launched Hi-Fi Rush the way they did. But also, they didn't show up at the Game Awards last year. They had that 12-month showcase. All those things play into it, right? And I think those days are done. Now, I think, we're about to get the CMA approval this week, supposedly, and all the inklings, all the people out there that seem in the know are saying that the CMA is going to approve this thing here maybe by Wednesday, unless there is another like small delay on it. Maybe if there's a small delay, it'd be because of some kind of like negotiation still over one of the concessions that they may end up making or whatever, right? But there's already, like, the Financial Times just came out and said they expected approval from CMA this week, and that was honestly the biggest hurdle that Xbox had, was the CMA. The CMA was the one that the most people were concerned about the most, right? So once the CMA deal's done and gets approved, then that's really smooth sailing. And that all the inclination right now is that that's going to happen. So EC is next. You're right, Void Rat. So the EC would be after that. And then after that would be the FTC. And those are the big three. Obviously, you have like New Zealand, I think, might make a decision this week. You still have China as well. So the big question a lot of people have out there is, how is China going to play into things? Is China going to try and hold things up? Are they going to be able to close without China? Supposedly, it's one of the regulators that was required for the deal to close, but that was also done and written in before the NetEase falling out with Activision Blizzard, because NetEase was their publishing partner for China, and they're no longer now, I guess, doing games in China, publishing their games in China because of their NetEase falling out that they had. And so I don't know how that's going to play a factor at all. So it's going to be really interesting what's going to happen the next couple weeks. Are going to be heavy on ABK. That's just a heads up for all of you. The Herd Theorem says, just think how many more subscribers Game Pass would have if game sharing didn't also apply to Game Pass. Yeah, that's the thing. And the thing is, it's even going to be even more, because with the family plan, they're going to get even more subscribers in there, right? Once that launches officially. Void Rat says, Lena Khan won't let it go, win or lose. That's the problem. They ain't concerned about Lena Khan. They ain't concerned about the FTC. They know they're going to win that in federal court. It's just annoying for them to have to deal with, right? Biggest ask, do I think there'll be another Halo? Absolutely. The question is, what will the next Halo game be? I think the next Halo will not be a mainline Halo game. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping the next Halo is more of a spin-off and growing the universe more. I think they need to do more of that. Lemon says, game sharing affects game sales also. I don't see anyone complaining about that. Yeah, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not worried about Microsoft's money. Like, I want to play the games, right? Like, if it makes sense for Microsoft and that's what they believe in, that's what they're doing, and they are growing Game Pass subscribers, and they're doing it by pumping all this investment into games and buying publishers to put their games into the service as well. I mean, I'm not sitting here complaining or concerned about it. Oh my God, what's there to be worried about? I get to save money. Like a lot of the whole concern about, oh, Microsoft, this game didn't do what it needed to do. We're fucking talking about a game that nobody even knew about before this year. Nobody even knew about Hi-Fi Rush before January. All it was before that was a leaked code name from Jeff Grubb and Skullsy. That's all that anybody knew about Hi-Fi Rush. They had no clue what it was. Then eventually we got the game shadow dropped. And to say that they had massive expectations, potentially, that they didn't meet over a game like Hi-Fi Rush is like just absolutely ludicrous. And anybody thinking that this is a concern over Xbox is just so like missing the boat here. Like, it's just not there's no concern over Xbox's model and business going forward because of the perceived success sales wise of a game that's in Game Pass that shadow dropped that nobody knew about last year. That's just plain and simple. What's up, Verg? Brizzle says my game room is fire. I appreciate that. This is actually my office. Yeah, so this is my I do play games here, but my game room is I have a game room in the other room where I have my pool table. And then I play games in another room in the house usually when I'm not sitting here. So, but yeah, this is my office. I have it decked out. It looks like a game room. But thanks, man. Appreciate the compliment. What's up, Superman? Superman says if you want a PS5, you have to pay extra to buy a game you might not want just to inflate the sales of said game. Yeah, that's something they've been doing for a while. I'm curious exactly what's going on with the Xbox Series stock still on supply for their consoles. You can still find a Series X, right? You just gotta look for one online, a couple different retailers, and you can find one. But the PS5s are just like everywhere. Like, you can just walk into a store and see a PS5 there and buy it bundled with the game. And I think that does a lot for sales. So the question is, like, has Xbox maybe been stockpiling some of these so that way they have ample supply once their games start dropping? I hope so. I hope so. We know there hasn't been as regular of supply drops to stores like GameStop and stuff like that. So, Superman, you're right. They do have the Diablo bundles. There was new Starfield boxes that were spotted out in China a couple times already. So that's going to be a thing, right? PlayStation did that with God of War. Remember, before God of War launched, you couldn't really find a PS5. Once God of War hit, they were everywhere, and it hasn't changed since then. They pumped it out, they got all the bundles out, and now they just still keeping that stock going. They've still been marketing it and stuff like that. So I think Starfield is going to have that kind of same level of impact on Xbox that God of War has had, and also adding up to all these other game drops this year. But the Diablo marketing is a big deal for Xbox because I feel like, honestly, Diablo might be the biggest selling game this year. And that should not be a huge surprise. It's on everything, first off, but they're going to have that association with Xbox as well. And there's going to be people wanting to buy the Xbox and get the Diablo copy, looking for a next-gen console. They go... Finally, hopefully those bundles are in the store and they see Diablo, Xbox, and I think that's a thing they're doing, right? So, but I think they're stockpiling them for those reasons. I think they wanted to keep their stock in check for these reasons. So, but we'll see. I could be wrong about that. Maybe there's still a short supply when those games drop. But there's not just that for Xbox this year.
it's not just Hi-Fi Rush and Age and all this stuff. You also have other things happening that's going to affect the brand. You're going to have this June showcase, right? That it's going to be a big deal because you have that where they're hopefully going to go and do a big show this year, not hamstring themselves to 12 months. So you'll have this June showcase followed by the Starfield Direct. Meanwhile, in the next month or so, also ABK news out the wazoo. Renewed interest with all that kind of stuff is going to play a big factor. And we'll see what happens with Game Pass subscribers over the next year. And I feel like this has been a long time getting to this point. You know, we've had a lot of waiting to do on Xbox to get to this point. But it's finally here. I mean, this time has finally come. And we're about to reap all these benefits and rewards that we've been patient about. And have I been unhappy the last 2 years on the Xbox Series X? Absolutely not. I've had more time waiting for this stuff to hit, more fun waiting for this stuff than I ever had any right to be, because there's been so many damn games coming to Game Pass, so many great games coming out. Even 2022, so much fucking awesomeness to play in 2022. I was not ever feeling like, there's nothing to play. I was completely happy last year. So I can't wait for how it's going to be in the future, right? What's up, Motion Schmeek? How's it going? How you doing? Ray Oid says the scalpers took a major L. If any of those scalpers had like warehouses still full once God of War hit, yeah, they did take a L at that point. Minister Madden says Starfield and Hellblade will be huge for Xbox. Oh, for sure. Those are both big needle movers, you know. And also, I think other games that get announced in June are probably going to be big. But my question I put out on Twitter is there's other games that are going to be a big deal. And we've already had several of these announcements, but we haven't seen them. And I feel like once they get seen again, the hype is going to get accelerated for these games. And the question I put on Twitter is, when are we going to see Fable again? When are we going to see Perfect Dark? When are we going to see Avowed? When are we going to see State of Decay 3? When are we going to see Everwild? You know, all those games, you know, Outer Worlds 2, whatever. They have a deluge of games, Contraband, a shit ton of stuff out there. And when those get seen again, the hype levels are going to get accelerated massively, because people tend to forget. People forget how big certain things are, right? People forgot how big Diablo was. Even Wall Street Journal is like, a surprise hit, Diablo 4. Like, what? Surprise? People forget how big Bethesda first person RPGs are, or first third person single player RPGs are, like Fallout and Elder Scrolls. We're about to find out when Starfield hits again, right? Like, people forget these things. And I feel like, honestly, conversation has moved on so much from Perfect Dark, Fable, Avowed, and all these games, because it's been almost 3 years since we've seen those games. At some point, they got to show them again soon. I want them to show them all again this year at the showcase, because if they do, the hype is going to be immense. There's going to be so much hype. Then they also got to show the things that are ready, coming soon, a lot of gameplay. And I think the showcase this year should be a good balance of things coming out the next couple years, plus also things coming out the next 12 months. Shout out to Fuzzy. This has been lurking, but heading to bed. Yeah, have a good night, Fuzz. Appreciate you, man, as always. Yeah, there's so much misconceptions about where Xbox is right now, just because of the waiting game we've had to play. And a lot of that's because I think the ABK deal and the lack of marketing behind a lot of this stuff. Or maybe they've been distracted. I don't know what it is, but these things are real and they're in the works. That's why we spent Friday night show talking about them all. Sub Wilfrey Rosario, how's it going? Says, I get so annoyed with some of the content creators I follow. They keep talking about the Redfall first FPS. Like, let it go. It's been 2 weeks already. Yeah, I still, like, personally, Wilfrey, I'm still disappointed on it. I'm still going to wait for the game, but I'm not going to keep talking about it, like, every week, like, have a big show about it. But I will, to the, I've thought about this, too, because here's something that happens, right? With content creation and with podcasting, okay? Because you have the news drop, okay? So I remember the Redfall news happened on a Wednesday. Like, I immediately, that night, I ended up doing a stream where I let my rant out, and then also we talked about it on PM and the PM on our show with Pong. We gave him the smoke that week. And then Friday, we talked less about it, but we still talked about it, right? At that point, we'd already had a good chance to get it out of our system and talk about how we felt about it. But that was us who had our shows on Thursday and Friday, right? But if you had a podcast that was scheduled usually for, like, let's say a Wednesday or even sometimes Thursday, but a lot of these guys do plan their stuff ahead of time. So, for example, I know that RDX had their show on Tuesday, right? And people were like, I'm sick of hearing this. It's just nonstop bashing and all this kind of stuff. But that was their first chance to talk about it, right? So to be fair, like, even though it had been since almost a week of that news, right? That was their first opportunity to talk about it on their show. And it was a big topic, so that's what they're going to talk about, right? So that happens. And I think it kind of builds up, and everybody's like, why are people still talking about this? Well, there's a lot of podcasts, and everybody has their opinion, and they're going to talk about it when they have their opportunity to. And if their show happens to fall almost a week later from when that news broke, it's going to seem later than other people, and maybe people are going to be a little bit more upset about hearing it again. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not, I wouldn't say they're trying to extra harp on something, some of these shows, but I feel like because of when some of these shows line up, it makes it seem that way. Like, if I had a Wednesday, if our only show was like on a Wednesday and that broke during the show, we may have not had a chance to cover it, and we'd have talked about it a week later. It'd have been like one of the main topics. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like that adds to the fuel to the community when people get upset about some things, because it's like, when will this stop? When will this? I'm sick of this negativity and all this stuff. It's like, for me, like, as a host, you can't really look and think about what's everybody else talking about, right? I don't want to talk about that. I just think about what I want to talk about, and if that's the topic, then that's the topic, and it is what it is, right? Because you have to think about your community as if you're in a bubble, right? Like, we're making content for you guys based on what we want to talk about, right? So, like Fonz, shout out to Fonz, you know, that he's been very critical. You know, I'm sure there are lots of guys there that had critical thoughts on it, but like, I don't have any lack of respect, or I don't find anything that they did to be like untruthful or trying to bash. It's just, that's just happened to be when their show fell, and that was their chance to finally get it out, you know? So anyway, that's just that I've noticed that before, you know? And you know, this Hi-Fi Rush stuff happened on Thursday night. We had our Thursday show, PM and the PM, and we didn't have a chance to talk about that because Grubb's show was happening at the same time. So we talked about Hi-Fi Rush a little bit on Friday, but our main thing on Friday was, because of all the conversation has been so misplaced with the Xbox, I kind of went in a little bit of different direction on Friday and tried to put a reality back in check with what is going on at Xbox, right? Like what is happening? Where is the investment with all the games, and what are all the studios working on? So if you have a chance, go back and listen to Friday's show, because we literally went through all the studios and talked about all the projects that they have or could be working on, and the ones that we know about, right? And because people aren't really thinking about this stuff, they're just talking about Hi-Fi Rush. It's like the Xbox ecosystem is way more than that one game, and Game Pass is way bigger than that, right? RSJ says it's disappointing, but those on console can try it out. If they don't like it, temporarily uninstall it. Then whenever the patch comes out, then re-download it and play it then. Yeah, Redfall. For me, I'm just going to wait. I know how I feel about 30 frames versus 60. Like, I played Jedi Fallen Order a little bit earlier, and I made the switch just to see the 30 frames versus the 60, and it was so dramatic for me. And it's not the same for everybody, right? But I know it will ruin my enjoyment of the game. And that's just a me thing. So I'll wait and play it when the update comes out. And I just hope to God it doesn't take forever. John Wolf says, I still make fun of the 30 FPS. It's just jokes. Don't take stuff so personal. Everyone vents differently. Yeah, you can definitely make jokes about it, right? Biggest says, is it possible to use the Series X controller in the Xbox One? Yes, it is. Minister Madden 08 says, PlayStation fanboys want doom and gloom for Xbox. I just hope that with the ABK deal that Microsoft doesn't push console gaming to the back. That you could have that a little bit of concern with that potentially, but I would say the Call of Duty audience is huge on console. Now they are making this acquisition probably more so for the mobile aspect of it. But ABK is going to be massive for the console market as well. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. I would actually think it's going to do more for their console and their attention to it. Because as PlayStation can tell you, nothing sells consoles like Call of Duty. Froggy says, got to get yourself a mid-range PC that can pump out 60. Yeah, I don't think this bad boy is going to do it. I have about a 4-year-old PC now, maybe 3.5 years old, and it was like mid-level at the time. And it's a little dated now. I have an AMD RX 590, and I don't think it's going to do 60 on Redfall. Is it possible to play Halo 5 on the Series X? Yes, it is. Also, you can play Master Chief Collection on the Series X. Series X is fully backwards compatible. The only things you can't play is Kinect games and random stuff that for some reason there's licensing issues on or something. But even those games, if you have a disc, you can usually play. There's a 360 game. Some of them you can't, but everything on the Xbox One generation, you can play on a Series X without any issues, unless it's a Kinect game. John says there are some great prices on AMD graphics cards. I have to see what else I would need to do to my PC to put in a new graphics card. I know I would need a new power supply. Then I would have to make sure my power supply works with my rest of my PC. It's always a can of worms. Because this was a pre-built. I don't know how to build a PC. So I bought a pre-built. AJH says game announcements as follows. Crimson Sky is made by Motive Studios. Capcom making Dead Rising 5. Conquer made by Squanch. Mech Assault made by Gunfire Games. Shadowrun MMO made by Certain Affinity. Mistwalker making a new JRPG. FromSoft making a Togi 3. Ubi making an exclusive Splinter Cell. Have I missed out any? You like my E3 predictions? That would be insane. That would be insanity. And I could guarantee you that that is not going to happen, but that would be amazing. A revived Saiyan says the clown Refudge Gaming was saying Xbox is done over Redfall, 30 frames per second. So I guess that means Sony has been dead for months from Forspoken. PlayStation clowns want to forget the flops on PS5. Yeah, that guy, I don't really, it was ridiculous. I saw him saying something on Twitter as a clip that was shared about like PlayStation being the 60 frames domain or something, and PlayStation and Xbox is a 30 frames machine or some shit like that. So far this generation, I haven't played like anything 30 frames really. No, I played Anno 1800 was 30 in Flight Sim. I think just about everything else has been either had a performance mode with like uncapped frame rate, like a Plague Tale Requiem, where they had like the 45 mode. I played some of that. Everything else has been 60. And I also, the Series X has way more 120 frames games than PlayStation. Actually, the Series S even has, I think, more 120 frames games than PlayStation. I remember Madden came out this year and it had 120 frames mode, and PlayStation didn't. That's a third party. I think optimization is crucial here, and I feel like some of these devs need more time. And it's not a limitation of the hardware as much as a limitation of optimization for the time that these devs needed to get these games out. And I think Microsoft is sick of waiting for these games to drop. I feel like they're sick of delaying games. I feel like they don't want to keep pushing everybody back and keep asking people to wait. Therefore, they're launching Redfall before it's completely ready. That's just the fact of the matter. You know, like the fact that the Arcane said that it's coming later means they can do it. It's not like they said that, like, well, we're not going to be able to do 60 frames mode on this game. They just said, no, we're adding it later, right? Even Minecraft Legends has some missing things in it. You know, I would say that Minecraft Legends, like, multiplayer suite right now is very limited. Getting occasional audio pops, Froggy. Do I need to turn down my levels a little bit? I have been a little close to the mic. Yeah, Minecraft Legends has a little bit limited on the multiplayer side. They also have they've already talked about their coming out with a fix. I feel like the skirmish style mode is a little limited in that game as well right now for the kind of game that it is, but it's still a solid game. I do think that they are sick of delaying these games, and I think honestly where Xbox is, they'd rather go ahead and put them out and patch them later at this point. And that's a shame, but it's not to say that the console can't do 60. It's just time. They are sick of waiting for these games right now. Biggest says, I prefer getting a full maxed out PC and play some titles on a 4090. It's going to run crispy 100 frames plus 4K easy. Yeah, I would love that. But budget. I still got a lot of stuff I got to get done around the house before I go and buy a PC. I need to fix my AC before summer gets brutal. So, yeah, it's just not in the cards right now, budget-wise, to get PC stuff. Superman says, watching that guy until he said Starfield was coming to PS5, then he realized it was a pony. Yeah. John Wolf says 30 frames is fine for the eye candy and simpletons, but a performance mode is almost required this gen. Yeah, I mean, almost every game has performance mode. Like, almost every new game has multiple modes now. So that's the thing about it. Like you can tell it just with Redfall it didn't have the optimization time that it needed. J Gaming 1986 says, wait, Starfield isn't coming to PS5? No, it's definitely not. Froggy says, down in Texas, I would imagine AC is a must. Yes. Right now, it's cool. But, you know, getting into May, it's going to start getting into the 90s and stuff. And I got to crack down and get these things fixed before that happens because it's both of our units. It's our upstairs unit and our downstairs unit in our house are not working. The coils on the units both leaked, and I got to get brand new coils for both of the AC units in our house. And so I'm looking at between $3,000 and $4,000 to get it fixed because I also got to get about 25 pounds of refrigerant for the 2 units, maybe 26. So I got to pay for the labor, for the coils, then I got to pay for the refrigerant. So I'm also trying to battle with the company over it because these are less than 5 years old. Froggy says, how's the compressor? Did it run dry? I don't know. I think it's okay. When the guy came out, he just said, I need refrigerant and new coils. But I don't know. I'm hoping it's fine. Amit Kumar says, developers that released in 2020 and 2021 will already be trying to push out their next game in 2024, 2025. So it's really hard to keep pushing games back. Yeah, I mean, overall, they've had, oh yeah, Froggy, no, we don't have gas. We have all electric here. We're on, we have coils in the units upstairs in the attic, and both of them leaked refrigerant. One of them has a little bit left, and the other one's like empty. But you said it can damage the compressor running out of gas, running out of coolant or gas. Cold weather this week in Texas, Ray. You're happy? Yeah. John says OnlyFans, Mav. Okay, Froggy says by gas, I mean the compressor running out of gas refrigerant. Yeah, I didn't know that. Right now I'm using, actually, I put a window unit in our bedroom. So we just use that to get us by for the time being. So I don't have the AC running at all. Behem says, the fact that it's sandwiched between Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Final Fantasy 16 is scary in itself. And after seeing the state of play, I'm hype as fuck. Yeah, Final Fantasy 16 looks amazing. I gotta admit. Like, that's the one game I want to play on PlayStation right now when it comes out. Revive Science says, Jeff Grubb spreading pony narratives. He could have fact-checked it with Google. Did better than Forspoken, the game that got a studio shut down. Yeah. Forspoken was definitely didn't do what it needed to. If you want to say a game didn't do what it needed to do, it was Forspoken. But that's every Square Enix game also, isn't it? Like every Square Enix game didn't meet expectations or do what it needed to do. The Avengers didn't do what it needed to do. Outriders didn't do what it needed to do. Forspoken didn't do what it needed to do. Guardians of the Galaxy didn't do what it needed to do. That's Square Enix's motto. That's their slogan. We make games, and they won't do what they need to do. We'll put it on one platform, exclude the rest of the gaming audience, and we'll lack on sales, and then we'll close the studio. Come work for Square. Do you want your game to not sell because it's only going to be on one platform? Do you want us to set unreasonable expectations for you in your game? Come work at Square. I think Square Enix expects their games to sell like 500 million copies. And they're only going to release it on PS5. I do think one game that will exceed the expectations, or at least meet them, will be Final Fantasy 16. They're gonna finally have a hit on their hands there. But it would even be a bigger hit if it wasn't exclusive on PS5. Oh my gosh, what a fucking stupid idea. Still. Yeah, Square's, I don't know. Square's dumb. They just run a horrible business. But so is Ubisoft. Some of these publishers I don't understand. EA is actually doing good. I mean, just this year, EA is going to have Jedi Survivor and Dead Space remake. They also had Wild Hearts. There's lots of publishers that are doing solid. Like Capcom's doing great. Bandai Namco's doing great things. Square and Ubisoft, I don't get it. Even Octopath flopped. I wonder if they would have sold a little bit more if it had released on Xbox, which had developed somewhat of a following for that game after the first one ended up being a Game Pass. Froggy S asked, do I think there's any chance that Xbox could end the 18-month contractor rules for game development? I feel like that was something that they actually addressed and said there's no like set in stone rule. I think they've actually come out and said that. I think there was something regarding like some kind of a state thing or something like, I can't remember what it was, but I feel like they've already addressed that. I'd have to look it up though. But I remember that being a conversation. Especially regarding 343. I think somebody addressed it. Because there was so much conversation about that. You had the first Octopath on Switch, didn't like the grind. It's a kind of a classic tactics style RPG. The issue that I have with Octopath Traveler is I don't like the gameplay balance and flow between the different characters and their different stories. A great gameplay, but like when it comes to tactics RPG, like, and especially in a game that somewhat resembles Final Fantasy Tactics, it doesn't have the magic that Final Fantasy Tactics had. But Octopath is still a great game. Donald says Xbox should have paid to get Ubisoft Plus added to Game Pass like EA Play. Maybe they tried. Who knows? Square would be better if it's just merged with Sony. They suck as a third-party publisher. That's what Ray says. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like here's the thing: these publishers can turn around. They did just have a shift with the president of their company. They like voted the old one out and in with the new. So these companies can turn around. Capcom's been down before. You've had different publishers be down and then rise up again from the ashes. So we'll see if Square can recover. I think they just need to make some different decisions. He said, I would imagine Ubisoft Plus will drop in price. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't understand their thinking with Ubisoft Plus. Because if they want people to subscribe, they're doing a very bad job of it. Like, that's not how they have their model set up, especially for console. It's not very appealing. Plus, they don't have a lot of new games. Imagine charging more than Game Pass Ultimate. Yeah. I'd rather EA Play Plus be available separately. I would actually consider that because I buy several EA games a year and they're actually release. Like, could you imagine if they had Wild Hearts and Jedi Survivor and Madden and FIFA and NHL and let's see, what else? There's another one this year from EA. Oh, Dead Space. All those within a year, I would be like, hey, that might be worth my extra money, right? But Ubisoft right now is such slow output, and a lot of the stuff they're experimenting with is kind of free-to-play stuff. Like, their next game to drop might be X Defiant, and it's free-to-play, you know? And besides that, Mirage, who knows if it's going to actually come out this year? Skull and Bones is... who knows what the fuck it is or when it'll actually happen. They keep delaying it. Heartland, who knows what'll happen with that. Yeah, people actually bought Dead Space. Yeah, for sure. I'm saying it would be awesome if EA Play Plus was on Xbox because I would have subscribed. But yeah, this coming week, I kind of touched on, we talked a lot about Hi-Fi Rush and stuff, but like I wanted to touch on like news to expect this week. And the CMA is going to be a big one. Like a CMA approval is supposed to happen on Wednesday. There's opportunities. Obviously, it could be like leaked before then about what their decision is. There could come from different articles before then, through different. We've seen this stuff before, like Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg, or at one of these other financial type websites or whatever will end up releasing information regarding ABK, saying a decision expected is this, or already have kind of leaked discussion points or documents or something. So we'll see. Maybe even before Wednesday, we could find out some things. The Financial Times just had an article today that said that they expect the approval on Wednesday to happen. So that's more positivity, but it's going to be a big deal. Like this week, I guarantee you, unless there's some kind of delay over this, that ABK is going to be a massive discussion in the gaming space, which it already has been going on for over a year. I get it. But we're getting down to that crunch time. Like, it's getting down to that time when these big things are going to happen. And this is to me, honestly, the CMA, besides like the deal closing officially, the CMA is the biggest news. RDM says, if I could design my dream game for Xbox, what kind of game is it? Genre, universe, gameplay, hours to beat the game, single player, multiplayer, etc. That is a fantastic question. I can tell you what it is. It is an RTS, real-time strategy game. Okay? And I want it more Command and Conquer style, Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth style. It kind of Age. It's similar to Age in some ways. But Halo Wars was a little bit more simplistic because you had your hub base and you just expanded upon it. But I want like actual base building and also building separate structures, right, within this game. And I want it to be an RTS. And I want the factions and the RTS to be based on the different franchises within the Xbox universe. So this is what I want from Microsoft. Okay, so you can have your Halo factions where you have your Spartans, right? So you can have like Marines, ODSTs, You can have like Spartans as heroes or whatever. You can have your different vehicles like your warthogs, and that stuff. Then you have your Covenant, right? So I'm somewhat describing Halo Wars right now, but here's where it's about to get different, right? Then you're going to have your Gears faction, right? So you're going to have the COG. Yes, you're going to have your COG. You're going to have all those vehicles. You're going to have your heroes. You're going to have your soldiers and all that stuff. Then you're going to have the Locust faction, right? And all that stuff. So then you got your Halo, you got your Gears, okay? So then you're going to have a Fable faction. So you're going to have more fantasy type characters and stuff like that with like some magic and abilities and stuff. Then you're going to have your Elder Scrolls faction, like your Dragonborn style faction with dragons and shit. Then you're going to have your Fallout. Then you'll have, there's so many different things they could do. You could do Mech Assault if they could get the license again. You could do Doom, right? So you could have your Doom faction. Then you could have the Hell Spawn or whatever faction as well. This is what I want. I want an RTS with all these different factions in there, made up of all these different universes and characters and lore from all of these properties that Microsoft owns. Be amazing. Yeah, Lanzo, RTS Smash Bros. Pretty much, right? That would be fucking incredible. You call it like XTS. XRTS, or you call it like Xverse, or like something like, I don't know. You call it like something with X. And you have just, it would be amazing. You have your like Perfect Dark faction with spies and shit. After the ABK, you have your Call of Duty faction, you know? Then you guess what? You make a deal with like Ubisoft and you get like Splinter Cell in there. I don't know. Like, they could do so much cool shit with that. Imagine the amount of content and DLC they could have with different factions being brought in. My God, it'd be amazing. That's what I want anyway. Killer Instinct faction. Oh my God, that'd be insane. Yeah, so the Doom faction would basically be Doomslayer solo killing everyone. Yeah, I feel like you could it'd be interesting how to do Doom, because like pretty much just one person, you know, but I feel like there's a universe there with lore in it that you could take from, right? Yeah, Amit Kumar says that Xbox Racer, but it's like Crimson Skies instead of carts. Xbox Fighter is Killer Instinct. Yeah, Xbox Fighter, you already have it there, Killer Instinct. You put your different characters and stuff in that. Sappho says I'm excited for MK12. Yeah, me too. Jay Gaming says Phil Spencer's playing Sea of Thieves. What is Jim Ryan playing? Supposedly Phil was playing Pillars of Eternity the other day or something like that, which is interesting, being that Pillars is part of the Avowed is part of that universe. Another universe you can pull from. You could do Outer Worlds factions too. Starfield faction. Oh my God, I didn't even think about Starfield. Do like your robots and shit, and that'd be so badass. The most interesting thing is like cosmetically the different styles of all these worlds and characters and factions. So you'd have like different thing, like art styles in there. I feel like you could have a lot of fun with it though. Yeah, as Pillars is a classic CRPG. It's a purebred CRPG. Do the StarCraft devs still work at Blizzard? I believe so. I mean, they've already hinted AJH at bringing StarCraft back. I think there is like some teams out there where they that have been formed from the StarCraft teams, like making other games for different companies. But I still feel like there's StarCraft talent there. Micah Barra had kind of hinted that StarCraft might be coming back at one point. I feel like that's going to be an announcement that's going to come. It's too big of a franchise for them to just die. So they'll bring it back at some point. And when it comes back, it'll be part of Xbox. Xbox is going to have the best RTS developers in the world between what's the fucking name of the studio? World's Edge and Blizzard. But this is one of the reasons I've wanted them, like, selfishly to buy Sega and acquire Sega. Not just for the big in the East and all that stuff, you know. But they have Creative Assembly and and Relic. Sorry, I always do that. I get some of these Square guys mixed up, former Square devs mixed up with Sega's. They have Relic and they have Creative Assembly. And they are insanely talented RTS developers. Like a lot of games, they make the Total War games and all these things. They've made Halo Wars. Both of those teams have worked in Halo Wars. And they are very multifaceted, talented studios. So I want Sega more for those reasons than the rest. "2024 should be Fire 2 with Avowed and possibly Fable." What's up, OCD Gamer? Thinking Obsidian really shines this generation. Susa says, what is the prediction for what will release in 2024? What's the next big game after Starfield? Forza Motorsport will be after Starfield. Hellblade 2 will be after that. Then Contraband. Then Avowed. And so Forza should hopefully still come out this year in Starfield. So after that, the question is Hellblade 2 and Contraband and Avowed. When do those release? One of them could hit potentially end of this year. If not, then I think next year, potentially for all three of those. But there still could be a fourth game for next year. And maybe it would be Compulsion's game. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So if I was to say 4 games for 2024, I would say Compulsion game, Avowed, Contraband, and Hellblade 2. Superman says full year delay for Forza. I don't know. There's some smoke out there that that Forza could be getting pushed back to next year. I hope not. But if it happens, it happens, I guess, at this point. I don't know. I just want the game to be good. I am sick of waiting for these games too. But they do have a good year already for us this year. So if it happens, it happens. But it would suck. Release dates are trolling at this point. Yeah, exactly right. 2025, Fable. I think it's when we start. I think 2025 is when we see like these games start to get released that we saw back announced in 2020, like Fable, Perfect Dark, Everwild, maybe even. Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones could be 2024.
Lots of stuff. Yeah, Avalanche released. There was a video I saw being shared on Twitter about Avalanche, and like it's more about like, hey, here's come work for Avalanche almost. It's like a visual effects artist. I was talking about being a visual effects artist at Avalanche, and then none of the footage they showed was from Contraband. It didn't look like it was like from Mad Max and Just Cause and other games. It looked like. So it was a cool little video, but didn't do anything for me except for the fact that they mentioned Contraband again. I agree with that, OCD gamer. As you said, I think we see a few games in June that's not on anyone's radar. That's what I'm hoping for the most. At this showcase, I hope we get an update from the main games that we all saw revealed back in like 2020, and then I want a few new games, and I want the games that we know are coming soon to be highlighted with gameplay. It would be an amazing show if they did all that. I mean, it would be crazy. But why not? You know what I mean? Like after 2022, like bring it this year. Fahim says, I still want to get Ghostwire Tokyo. It's in Game Pass. If you got Game Pass, you got it. Or buy it. Either way. Yeah, unload the clip. You're right. Admit. Ray Oid says, we'll probably see 2 games from Xbox Studios in 2024. The rest from Activision and Bethesda. Could be. The question is, after ABK acquisition, what do they bring to the table next year? It's insane to think about. Yeah, we always want to see as much as possible. We'll see what happens at the show, I guess. Yeah, for sure. Last couple years we had our Fun Speculation E3 prediction special, which if you haven't ever seen one of those that we've done before, guys, it's like I go around and do like separate. I get all these different content creators from the community, and I ask them all questions about predictions for like the showcase. And then I chop it all up and put it into a video form. And it's usually around like an hour long or so. But we had usually like over 20 creators. And it's a lot of fun. I usually ask like 3 questions, and then I get 3 predictions. So I have like 3 questions that I ask each one of them, then I get 3 predictions. And we've done that twice now. And I'm trying to think about how to do it this year, because it's technically not E3, but I guess it doesn't really matter if it's E3 or not. But it is a lot of work because it's a lot of editing. But if you haven't seen one of those, check out like last year's show. You got to see a lot of predictions, and everybody was wrong because nobody predicted a 12-month showcase. Like a lot of us thought Fable was going to be there, or this or that and stuff. It was crazy. Every week, a new reason for Phil to get fired. It's just exhausting. Meanwhile, he's just chilling playing video games. I think he's ignoring the noise. Red Monkey Butt says 9 more sleeps until Redfall. OCD says, I'm not sure. Caught that prediction show last year, but I won't miss it this year. Right on. Yeah, it's just you. I release it in video form because I don't do it live because I can't get that many people together at one time, and it would be insanity if we did. So what I do is I record all these little sessions and I clip them all up together, and put little funny excerpts from all of them and interesting predictions and stuff all together. And it's a lot of fun doing those videos. It does take a lot of work. I've actually considered, because of how long it takes for editing, potentially doing it in a different way and trying to do something live, but I don't think it would be the same. So I don't know.
You hope the next Doom is called Doom and Gloom. Hey, he's busy playing Starfield. Yeah, I hope it doesn't take. What's y'all's guesstimation for how long it takes to get the 60 frames performance mode on Redfall? Are y'all thinking weeks? Are you thinking months? Or are you thinking a year? Don Sicario asks, how many years till Kojima shows Xbox exclusive? Geez. 36. No, just kidding. No, it's maybe 2 years away before we see it. I don't know. That's a great question. What game is it? Like, because he just like when the last time they had him on, it was just like it didn't seem like they even started it yet. Three to 7 weeks, you guys think? Susa says months, probably. By then, Redfall will be forgotten. Watch the update come out like the same day that Diablo releases. NC Ghost of Low Road says June 11th, 60 frames. At the showcase? That would be insane. And now you can play Redfall at 60 frames. That's their big announcement at the end of the show. And that's their one more thing. And one more thing. The 60 frames update for Redfall is here. You guys are all thinking a few months. Yeah, I think it's not going to be soon either because they didn't use the words soon when they made that announcement. They said at a later date. Yeah, OCD Gamer says, be nice if they surprise us and have 60 frames ready day one. That would be nice. I don't feel like it's going to happen. The one more thing will be the showing for Kojima's game. The thing is, I got so much stuff to play. It's not just like I'm trying to slight Redfall by waiting. It's like I'm content. I already have so many damn games to play. Like, it's not a huge ordeal for me to wait on it until the update's here. I'll just play something else. I mean, there's so many damn games releasing. Like, I still haven't touched Dead Island 2. I want to get that. I'm going to probably pick it up on sale later when it gets on sale. Jedi Survivor's just about to come out as well. Minecraft Legends just hit. I still want to play Age 2 more. I'm still hooked on the show. There's so much stuff to play. I haven't dove back into Vampire Survivors in a little while. Waiting for me for Redfall's 60 frames update is not really even a big thing. It's just like, hey, I'm just gonna wait until the game's finished and updated. The only thing that will suck is not being able to stream it around launch. That's the only thing I will like miss not doing is streaming it around launch. Like I would love to like hang out with the community and all that kind of stuff, but like honestly, I just won't enjoy the game with 60 frames without 60 frames. MLB The Show is amazing this year. I'm so hooked on it. I'm having a blast. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Again, guys, I'm saying this year there's going to be lots of this week. I mean, there's going to be lots of CMA talk, probably, and lots of ABK talk. This negativity involving Xbox right now is probably going to be flipped on its head this coming week. Because you're going to have a lot of positivity about, hey, people who thought it would never happen, the ABK deal closing, people that thought this would never end up happening, there's no way in hell, all this stuff, they're going to come around. But you're going to also see a lot of hit piece articles probably come out, taking shots at Microsoft, saying how bad this is for gaming and all this kind of stuff. But you're also going to see a lot of excitement about Game Pass and the future of the brand and how much money that's going to bring to the ecosystem, and it put things back into perspective for people on what's actually going on here. So I'm predicting an insane week in news, especially if you're into the ABK conversations. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this stream. I appreciate you hanging out on this chill Sunday night. Great discussions. We talked a lot about Hi-Fi Rush and all that. We talked about CMA. I love the questions you guys were asking in the chat. Kept the conversations rolling along. But I'm gonna end up having to go here. I still need to eat some dinner tonight, and also I gotta go fix the Wi-Fi downstairs because for some reason the Wi-Fi went out. The internet's still working, but the Wi-Fi went out downstairs, so I got to go fix that for the family. But besides that, everybody, hey, appreciate you being here as always. If you do like the content on the channel, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. All that cool stuff. Appreciate you. Hit the notification bell. And tomorrow night we do have a show. FSP, that's Fun Speculation Podcast, will be live at 10 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night. And maybe we'll have some Monday gaming news. I hope so. That we haven't had a lot of Monday gaming news days this year. So I'm hoping that we have that and have some cool stuff to talk about. But I'll see you then regardless tomorrow night. Have a good one. Peace out and take it easy.